Welcome back, knitters. I'm Jana with Purl Together, and in this technique video, what follows is going to be the stretchy bind off for the bottom of our Campside cardigan knit along. So by now we've separated for the sleeves and we've knitted through the body and the eyelet charts that correspond there. I'll explain a couple of minor modifications that I chose to do regarding chart 4. And then this is the stretchy bind off that I chose for the bottom edge. Before we get started, I want to welcome 3 new patrons to the Purl Together patron family. A hearty welcome and gratitude goes out to Trice, Dee Dippolito, and Alexandra Gray. Thanks so much for joining me. If you're interested in learning about what I'm offering in trade for a small monthly pledge, head on over to patreon.com/Purl Together. Okay, let's get started with that bind off. This is just a regular stretchy bind off where we knit 2 together through the back loop and then we purl when necessary, and I'll show you that. The reason I'm not doing a sewn bind off, like for example Elizabeth Zimmerman's sewn bind off, is just because with that you have to cut the yarn and you have to estimate how much you're going to need for that, and I don't really want to do this on a project that big. So the first thing I'm going to do is just knit this first stitch as normal, and I'm going to knit the second one also. Then I'm going to put my left needle in underneath in a similar way that you do when we do a slip knit. And then I'm just going to knit these together through the back loop. Okay, now the next stitch is a purl. Hopefully the color, my camera is adjusting so you can tell that. So I'm going to yarn forward just like we normally would. I'm going to purl that stitch. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to purl that stitch, and then I'm going to, again, same kind of thing. Whoops, I just split that stitch. Hang on a second here. I'm going to purl that stitch, and then I'm going to put both of these back onto the left needle, and I'm just going to purl them like normal. Okay, now we're going to do the next one the same way. Purl the next stitch, put them both back on the left side, leaving this right needle in because we're going to just purl like normal. Now take the yarn to the back and do the same thing. Now we have the knit stitch that's next, so we're going to knit that one, put the left needle underneath, knit through the back loop. And we're just going to carry on across this the whole way. And that makes a stretchy bind off that also looks neat. So you can see how that looks on the edge. So let me do a few inches and then I'll show you. All right, I've done several inches and I like the way that looks. It's going to look really nice when it's blocked, cat hair notwithstanding. So let me show you one more time the process or the steps involved here. Since we're going to do this in pattern, starting with the knit, you just knit into it like normal. Put your left needle underneath, just like when you do an SSK or slip knit, and then knit right into the back loop of that. Be careful not to split anything. Okay, do the same thing with knit the next one. Put your left needle in underneath and knit through the back loop. Now the next stitch we have is a purl, so we're going to yarn forward, purl that next stitch. Again, put your left needle underneath, but keep your right needle in front because it's a purl, and then just purl those 2 together. So that's pretty simple. Okay, purl the next stitch, put your left needle underneath and toward the back so you have your working needle in front because it's a purl, and purl those 2 together. Yarn in the back because now we're moving back to the knit stitches. So you're just going to carry on in that same way all the way across. All right then, I've done the stretchy bind off in pattern all the way across and I've gotten to the last stitch. So I'm simply going to trim this and give myself plenty of tail in order to weave that in. So I'm just going to trim that and then pull that through. And then I'll weave that in when I'm ready later. Okay, now mine looks a little bit loose and it will bloom. I think, you know, this all looks a little bit loose. I maybe should have gone down another needle size when doing the ribbing, but I also know that this particular yarn will bloom a little bit and fill in some of the airiness or looseness. So let's take a look. I hope you find that helpful and that you're enjoying knitting this sweater together. Next time we get together, we'll be picking up the stitches for the sleeves, knitting through that, and then doing the same sort of bind off on the cuff. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.